Out to Chum Lee at _Chum Lee on Twitter.
Got you on the table, son.
He's always here with us on Sports Rap Live in spirit and in bobble, no doubt. Chum Lee was on Jay Leno last night, man. Kids making moves, yeah. Kids making moves, man. He had on the all gold dunks, limited edition dunks. So I was waiting to see what he was rocking on his feet.
I was curious of what Jay was trying to get pawned over there.
Never know.
Trying to see what, the
next big thing.
what his
the next
quote
big thing is Storage Wars.
Yeah.
That's the next big thing is. I was watching that the other day. I don't even understand it, but
Great show.
yeah,
We watched a little bit in the hotel room in New Orleans.
yeah, Storage Wars. I don't get into that unless it's a
Except
Storage
that-
Wars as shoes.
Yeah.
That would.
Well, I mean, you have the coach of the manager of the Tampa Bay Rays on the show, so it's got a little baseball twist for you. Just kidding. Shout out to Barry. All right, hey, the rap sheet, we got to get right into it. It's brought to you by BC's Smoke Shop, where you guys can get $20 off a purchase of $100 when you have the Rap Pack coupon, which we always have here on the table at Sports Rap Live. Or you go to our homepage and it's stuck right there, sportsraplive.com. That's rap with 2 P's. Or you just pop in there at their 2 Houston area locations, 7909 Westheimer, right there between Fondren and Hillcroft, or Voss as they call it on that side, or FM 1960 at Jones Road. They have vintage ashtrays. Shout out to my man Ralph G, already at the top of the show for my Smoke and Maintain Politics Lafayette ashtray here. I think he's outside, so he'll hear that on the podcast. But yeah, they've got vintage ashtrays, rare glass pieces, and of course all the detox you need to have a good, clean system as the weather really starts to warm and you want to get back out there on that workout routine. And one guy who's been on his grind and his routine, and we are very happy to have back here on Sports Rap Live, is our good friend Maurice Bobb from Slam Magazine. Welcome back to the show.
For the Rap Attack. What's up, fellas?
Yeah, what's up, Mo? How are
He's
you?
telling me, Adam, he's telling me he's even doing stuff for the Chronicle, MTV, NBA stuff,
XXL.
rap stuff. Dude, he's all over the place.
Well, that's why we love having him here, just like Sports Rap Live, man. We don't just focus on sports, we focus on the culture of sports, and Maurice is knee-deep in it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to since we did our All-Star recap just a couple months ago?
Been on some really cool projects. I got a call from Nike Basketball to be part of that social media takeover for the
Shout out to
NCAA
Lab
tournament.
West, by the way, Nike
Yeah.
Basketball.
Yeah, and what they did is they brought out 3 writers, and they had a team of graphic designers, and what we would do is like find people to sort of hero, what they call it, whereas they would talk about the game and we would like spotlight what they had to say about the game or the game plan, and we would make them feel special by taking a tweet they made and putting a graphic around it. Like if they were a Kentucky fan, we put a Kentucky Wildcat graphic and what they said on Twitter and blast it out and make backgrounds for them.
Must have made that person feel really special.
Yeah, exactly. So the hero concept really went well.
Well, especially the Kentucky Wild Fats.
Exactly.
They felt real special.
Yeah, and
They were burning their couch, too.
so they had this team like in a mission control setting out in Portland for the first week, and they had it in New York for the following 2 weeks. And the campaign was just really successful. Nike's talking all about it, and they want to redo it now for the NBA Finals and also for the Olympics. When the Dream Team goes over to London. So just a lot of cool initiatives with them.
I'm glad you brought up the Olympics, Mo, and we'll get into some detail. We'll break down each conference here. We got time to ride here till our next break at 8:43. But let's get some of your thoughts on the Olympic talk that's been happening the last 2 days with Dwayne Wade coming out and saying that these guys should be paid to go over there and represent their country. And then Ray Allen kind of reiterated it, but put a twist on it. Obviously being a Jordan guy, he wants to get some of that money coming back in for the Olympic Committee or for the United States that's making money off of the jerseys and the sneakers. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I on the one hand, I get where he's coming from. His main argument is by the time, if you go deep into the playoffs, you've only got 2 weeks worth of rest before things kick off, for the Olympics. So your body has to go through some sacrifices there, and then you have to be away from your family. If you're an older player, you have a wife and kids, things like that, and sometimes you want to just have that downtime. So I understand it on that end of it. But when you talk about one of the last pure events in the world of sports, period, it doesn't get any better than the Olympics. And And that's why basketball is so popular worldwide, because we've dominated the basketball scene since its inception, on a worldwide stage. So when you bring out those best players in the world and they showcase their skills, it's going to bring all these legions of fans worldwide, and that's going to bring money in on the other side, on the back end. So you have to not be short-sighted when you look at these kind of issues and like, okay, you can't let the chicken come before the egg, that kind of thing. You're here at this level of getting paid and notoriety and able to make all this brand money because of your worldwide viewership and your worldwide stance, and you don't get that any better than the Olympics.
And we know what the master motivator is for most of these professional athletes. It's money. It always goes back to the money. And I think if you can pay these guys enough, it won't be so much about, who's ready to play afterwards. Is, listen, if we pay you really, really, really well, won't there even be extra incentive to want to come out there?
And where's the pride? I mean, where's your pride of, holding up that flag, winning that gold medal, proclaiming you're the best in the world, not just in the United States or the NBA. You're the best in the world. You have millions and millions of fans looking at this, and you're showing the world what you can do, and you're winning for not just for you, but for your country and for all that back history of what it means to be an Olympic athlete.
Should they have some sort of rotation system where they kind of try and phase in young bloods every year, or every 4 years, to try and keep that, I haven't been there yet, I want to win a gold medal, or this is my second year in the team, I want to be a leader now, I already got my feet wet. Should they have some sort of system where they kind of infuse young talent year after year? Because I feel if you have the same stable of guys, they probably will get content. We've already won the gold medal, I've already done this, I've already been in the playoffs. But if you get a new guy, I kind of feel like that might motivate. They'll be self-motivated, maybe carry the team.
Hey, you bring up a good point, but you also have to remember, we can't lose perspective on the fact that the rest of the world is caught up to our level of play in basketball, and you can't just send anybody over there if you want to win the gold. If you just want to throw spaghetti against the wall and see if it sticks, okay, send whatever players you want to send. But if you want to go over there and get that gold medal and really show that we're the best at this game, you got to send your best players. And and most of the time, those best players are those guys, the LeBrons, people who have been out in
Kobe,
for those years. So, you want to bring guys in slowly along, but you got to send your best. This is no joke now.
Okay, years ago, the United States had really fallen off the world scene. I mean, there was, Olympics, a Pan Am Games, and a World Championships in a row that the U.S. didn't bring home the gold or bring home the trophy. What if those guys were getting paid back in the day? That's you're treading on not only pride for your country, but not performing after getting paid for something that for so long was voluntary, and that was hard work.
And it goes through all lines on down to street ball. I was over in Paris for that street ball tournament. I got to tell you, we got showed up by France, other countries. I mean, the U.S. team was blown off the court by cats from France. So you cannot sleep on all levels of basketball worldwide. And, I think the players are losing sight of that.
The last Olympic moment I really remember is in the last Olympics how sort of Kobe had to take over the game because it was such a competitive game against these other nations, against Spain, I think, and it was against
Argentina.
Always. I mean, they're very, very, very competitive teams. They have a lot of NBA level of talents. And the other thing is they're a cohesive group. Whereas the NBA, the NBA guys that go over there, they sort of do tinker with the who's going to come this year. I want to, I'm hurt or whatever. Those guys in the European and the South American leagues, teams, they want to go every year because that's what they're used to. So I think that we have to find that synergy that they have as well.
Speaking of synergy, we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs, Mo. So let's start in the Western Conference. I'm just going to run it down. We'll start right at the top, right here in H-Town, with the team that we can't figure out. One day we think, hey, they could beat somebody in the first round if they just get in. The next day, they lose against the Jazz, which I think was expected because they've been really hot for the first week of April.
Yeah.
Some huge wins, of course. But just give us your overview on this team. Obviously, you tweeted it out. Goran Dragic was the Western Conference Player of the Week, which is awesome for a guy that we saw flashes of behind Steve Nash in Phoenix, and then a little bit last year when he finally ended up in Houston. But this year, he's really taken on a new role in Kyle Lowry's absence.
Yeah, that guy, he has heart. And when you have that kind of heart and mettle and you're not afraid to go in there and step up big, it's going to come through eventually. And, just like he was telling me, if I get enough opportunities, I'm going to show you what I have. And he's finally getting that opportunity to show what he has. And now it's going to be another conundrum for the Rockets. Okay, what do we do? Just like when they had Aaron Brooks here and they had Kyle Lowry stepping up to the forefront. Okay, now Kyle Lowry's here and doing this thing, but now you got Goran Dragic coming up on his heels. Who do you go with? What do you do? You know, can you keep him in the rotation next year? What are you going to do?
Well, isn't Dragic a free agent after this year?
Yeah, exactly. So they have to make a decision.
So what? Well, if you were the GM, if you're Daryl Morey, who would you pick? Would you re-up the money and try and bring Dragic along? Or would you kind of say, you know what, I've seen enough from Kyle Lowry in the first half of the season to think that he can continue to do this? Or do you think he's kind of plateaued? Maybe Dragic had not yet peaked yet?
You know, it's a tough decision because, you know, while they're both playing well, they're two very different players when you really break it down. And so you got to go look at the team chemistry, and he's got to think about the team that he wants to build next year. Is he going to want to build it based on pick and rolls? Is he going to want a guy who's going to be able to get into the teeth of the defense? Because you see that, you know, Kyle Lowry's kind of gotten really good at the three-point shot and things like that. But, you know, do you want that kind of guy, or do you want a guy who's going to really, you know, take it to the rack like Steve Nash?
Can you keep both?
You can, but you have to get both of those guys on the same page. And it's going to take, you know, the right heads to, you know, come together and put that together. But, you know, the Rockets, it just seems like they can never get it right when it comes to chemistry. You know, they can develop some chemistry throughout the season, but when it comes to the offseason, they can't put the right pieces together. It's like they're putting all these pieces on a chessboard.
They're just a great farm team.
Exactly.
Well, and it's a great problem to have, but guess what? Kevin McHale, he's not really into coaching up the guards. He's into coaching up the big man. They're going to bang, they're going to rebound, and that's where his focus is. So you're hoping that somebody, maybe an assistant coach or somebody, can kind of come in and make it work. Yeah. I think that's your only option to keep both guys. All right, well, let's move on. In the same conference as the Rockets, Soccer Talker Luis, #1 Spurs fan in Texas, is here. Let's talk about these Spurs. Now, they did it again. Last time you were here, we talked about Pop sitting the guys.
DNP, reason old.
DN didn't even make the flight, is what it should have said in the box score, because they didn't even travel. Now, there was people that were up in arms about whether or not the superstars should travel. What, you want to pay to see these guys in a suit? Because either way, they're not going to play, so might as well leave them at home and get treatment. What are your thoughts on this Spurs team? You know, they mail one in last night to stay healthy, but then again, they did that last year, and they lost in the first round.
Well, first of all, you have to remember the last lockout short season, who won the championship?
Spurs over the Knicks.
That, yeah.
Okay, so, you know, here it is. He's got the blueprint. He kind of knows what he's doing in this regard. You know, yeah, as a fan, I'm upset. I want to see the best players suit up and play, and as a fan, I want to see that. But when you break it down to the strategy and as a strategician as Pop is, I mean, the guy's an evil genius. So, you know, I trust that he knows what he's doing. But you saw last night when they did play, they're kind of out of sorts and didn't really step up. So he's going to have to figure it out, and he's got a very short window to do so. So I'm waiting to see what he does, but the Spurs, I cannot sleep on them. They're very good.
I think it's something about that 11 wins in a row that kind of took something out of him. Because when you're on that kind of roll, you want to keep the momentum going. I think after those 11 wins, it's kind of like, all right, we took a loss. All right, let's regroup and kind of figure out where we are, get our bearings, versus if you have something going, you want to keep it going. So I think that those 11 wins might have taken something out of them.
Could have been. Well, we'll continue here in the West, but you know what? In the old Southwest, there were Cowboys. Okay, and here in Houston, which is also considered the Southwest, there's the Cowboy lawyer, and his name is Gary Trichter. And just because it's Thursday doesn't mean we can't shout him out. All right? Normally Sundays are saved for shout-outs, but tonight we are going to shout out H-Town's top DWI lawyer. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you decide to drink, like some of our good friends here at Junction Bar and Grill, it's okay. Enjoy yourself. Have a drink. Absolutely. Absolutely. But if you're going to get hammered, then make sure you have a non-drinking designated driver. Or take a cab or a limo. You know Mo Bobb, he rolls up in a limo here every week and does his damn thing and goes back to doing his 8 different jobs that he has in the entertainment business and sports. But if you don't want to do that and you want to just pass out, you know, Bun B is not even at that point yet, but he might just go lay it down in the RV anyway, just because it's so comfortable. The confines are there. I'll tell you what, straight up, just have a non-drinking designated driver. I'm sorry, I get a little choked up about it because I don't want to see any of you guys go to jail. I don't want to have to get that phone call to get you out of jail. So have somebody lined up that's not drinking, and follow the traffic laws religiously. If you do decide to drive, do not give an officer a reason to stop you, because if you do get stopped, he's going to ask you all kinds of questions. He's going to ask you if you've been drinking, and he's not going to believe you anyhow. So continue to be polite and ask for your lawyer before doing any tests or roadside gymnastics, fingers on the nose, counting backwards from 98. Just continue to be polite. And remember that everything you say and do is going to be on video. So just keep that in mind. And real quick, a DWI is going to cost you quite a bit of money, close to $12,000 if you really break it down. Plus, there's a possibility you might be in jail for up to 6 months. So if you want to save yourself the headache, save yourself the hangover, or waking up in jail, put this number in your phone right now. That's 713-524-1010, 713-524-1010. All my Sports Talk 790 listeners already know the number, but if you're just tuning in to Sports Rap Live tonight, please save that in your phone and save yourself all the time and trouble. Call them in Houston, and if you want more information or you have questions, visit texasdwilaw.com. Well, I have more questions about the Western Conference, and we have Maurice Bobb here from Slam Magazine. Maurice, real quick, before we get back into it, why don't you tell everybody right now at 8:32 p.m. where they can find you, and sports related as far as the NBA goes.
Right now, Slam Magazine, obviously, slamonline.com. Just had a story go up about Houston Rockets own Goran the Dragon Dragic. Got a chance to talk with him about winning the Western Conference Player of the Week, what he's been doing, what to expect from him, and his play. Great attitude, great player. Check us out on slamonline.com, and you can catch me on Twitter, twitter.com/Reese Report. That's REESE,
One of the best follows on Twitter. I guarantee you that. All right, now let's get into some of the heavy hitters. We'll finish up in our own conference. We've talked about the Rockets. We talked about the Spurs. What about these Mavs? It's been a mess.
We gotta get to Lamar Odom.
That's exactly why I brought it up.
Let's have a moment of silence for Lamar Odom.
Nah, not really.
Wow.
Not really.
It's almost like what Charles Barkley had to say about it. It's like he had a bad divorce and just hasn't gotten over it with the Lakers. Why can't he be a professional? I know he has a lot of things going on in his personal life, but one of the things that can stabilize your life is you focus on your professional. He really could have. Look at Kobe.
Okay, my question, Mo.
Eagle County.
Hang on. My question to you, what is his focus, though? Is it the show or is it the NBA? That's the question. Because you could say, oh, yeah, his mind is in L.A. for Kardashian 2.0 or whatever they call that show, Chloe and Lamar.
Oh, that was terrible.
Thank you, Charles. Or is it him focused on basketball? That's the question.
Yeah, and I really like Lamar Odom as a player, as a guy. He's a really, really cool guy. But just to see him unfold like this in the season, and Charles Barkley said it best, he shouldn't even get paid for the effort he put out on the floor this year. It was just laughable. And then now you're hearing rumblings that he had fights with Cuban and Dirk. So what's going on? It's
Now that was
and the
crazy.
worst part of all this might be he still can't play on an NBA playoff contender because he got released so late after the fact, after March 1st. It's like
April 1st.
April 1st.
Well, he can be a ball boy for the Lakers, like
it's not like he's going to latch on with the Lakers back to his old team or latch on with a contender. He's done. He's pretty much a malcontent. He can go suck his thumb at home.
Speaking of the Lakers and going back to L.A., what about these Lakers? You think Kobe's been out with the shin injury? He's not playing tonight. Of course, with Andrew Bynum getting 30 rebounds last night, the Spurs are doomed without their big three. So you can kind of toss that one out. These Lakers, they're done, right, Mo?
You know what? It's gonna be. I like the way Bynum plays with this sort of attitude. Some of the things he does
When he
are
wants
childish.
to.
They're childish, very much so. But the way he plays on the court, as far as basketball is concerned, is great. Besides the jack and the threes, I want to see how they can integrate Kobe back into it. And is Bynum going to shrink back down, or is he going to still play at this level and still dominate the board, still, stay in the paint where he needs to be instead of thinking about stealing the ball from his own teammate to jack a three? Can we reel that in? If they can find those pieces to make it work, and Ramon Sessions still play like he's playing, they can be a real threat in the West. I still don't believe they're going to come out of the West, but they can make a threat.
All right, well, we'll finish up here in the West with the team that everybody has pretty much said, in the last couple years is getting closer and closer to that team, and it looks like they could be the one this year, the OKC Thunder. Your thoughts on the Thunder? Now they've hit kind of the doldrums. Normally in an 82-game season, these teams hit that at about 50 games, 60 games. Right after the All-Star break, they kind of come out flat. They realize they've already clinched, especially Oklahoma City. They've realized that for a month or so now. What are your thoughts on this team, and can they ramp it back up to get going for end of April and May?
I think OKC is a very talented team. You know, they covered on all bases, but just Russell Westbrook makes me nervous.
You've been saying that now on our show now for what, over a year and a half? Yeah, definitely.
I mean, incredible athlete and can take anybody at any time. But you have the best player, I think, in the league right now, with at least the best scorer, the guy.
Maybe the MVP favorite.
Exactly. You have that guy on your wing, and you're taking more shots than he is. There's something inherently wrong with that, and I think it's going to hurt them when it gets down to the nitty-gritty of, you know, the Western Conference semifinals and that kind of that level. Right now, they'll cruise through it, but when it gets down to, okay, X's and O's and really getting into the crux of it, that is going to make that team collapse.
Well, we saw it last year in the playoffs where it was kind of like Durant not getting that last shot, a couple rounds, a couple different games, and KD being like, you know, what's going on? Why am I not getting the shot? And that's where I think a lot of this started and it's carried over, is that Westbrook is maybe too on for his own good, or even too good for the team's own good. It seems like he's so willing to take that shot because he does have a rhythm. He does have, is able to get his own shot. But you're definitely right. There's not the right dynamic. It's a fine line with that team of the balancing act, and it doesn't seem like they've figured out how to walk that tight line.
Great segue. Let's move to the East in the prohibitive favorite preseason to win this, not only in a shortened season,
The
but
Bulls.
No.
Doubles.
No.
No?
No.
Doubles.
No. Another team
My favorite.
that might not have the dynamic like OKC with Wade and Bosh and LeBron, and that is the Miami Heat. This team is up and down, Mo. They can't beat the Celtics, who have the best record. We mentioned at the top of the show. They have the best record since the All-Star break and look like the Celtics of 4 or 5 years ago, or 3 years ago at least. And then on other nights, they look like barn burners. They look like they can go into OKC and they can crush these young kids. Where is your Heat index right now for saying? I knew that's been overused, but where do you sit right now with the Heat?
I'm kind of halfway worried about them. I still think they can do it, but I'm a little worried about, you know, okay, is Wade going to be healthy enough to help them lead the course? Is Bosh going to step up? Because he's been disappearing of late. And, I mean, LeBron James is playing out of his mind right now. But, I mean, we've seen this before. We've seen this every year. I'm waiting to see, is he going to step up when the game really matters? When it's down to that last shot, or, you know, they're down by 5 in the last 2 minutes. Is he going to take over the game? Can he take over the game mentally? We know he can physically. Is he mentally tough enough now to get over that last hump? That's what worries me about them. And if they don't get it done this year, I don't know what's going to happen to them.
Adam, I'm looking at the schedule right now. Here's our last 8 losses for the Heat. At LA, playoff team for sure. At Orlando, playoff team. At Chicago, playoff team. 3 road losses. At OKC, another road loss to a playoff team. At Indiana, another road loss to a playoff team. At Boston, yet another road loss to a playoff team. Versus Memphis, you know, they lost by 5 and then lost to Boston. But all those teams are playoff caliber teams, and the majority of those, about 6 out of those 8 losses on the road. So it's not like they're not taking care of business at home, and they're losing to quality teams. It's not like they're getting dusted by, like, you know, Sacramento or Washington, you know, DC or any of these, you know, Charlotte or any of these teams. They're losing to quality opponents. I still think they're going to be there at the end, so I'm not worried.
But it's kind of like this, though. It's almost as if, you know, you remember when you were a kid and you had the cheat code to the video games? Teams seem to have a cheat code against the Miami Heat. Don't let them get out in transition. Slow it down. Play good defense. Take care of the ball. Don't have turnovers. You can beat the Heat if you have all those cheat codes.
Or you can beat the Heat if you have Derrick Rose on the floor, as Chicago takes on Miami tonight in Chicago. Let's talk about this Bulls team. Derrick Rose has been basically the absentee student this season. He has not been on the court long enough to actually even register with this team, who I got to give all the props to Tom Thibodeau, should be the coach of the year, hands down.
Guy's done a phenomenal job.
What he's done on the defensive end to keep this team as the #1 seed in the East.
No sophomore slump in his coaching record.
No, sir. No, sir. Back-to-back Coach of the Year awards for Tibbs? Very possible.
Yeah, I mean, the way they're sharing the ball, moving the ball, guys are stepping up. You know, I'm just worried about if Derrick Rose is going to come in and kind of put the brakes on the sharing the ball, moving the ball. Can he still come in and he's going to still need to play a little hero ball, but he's going to have to move that ball around like they've been doing
They're
so
going to
far.
defer more, and that's what I think you're trying to say is we don't know what's going to happen after that. It's kind of an unknown.
Yeah, exactly. But their defense is really going to anchor them throughout the playoffs.
All right, well, hey, speaking of anchors, the Orlando Magic really don't know if they have an anchor, and we're getting close to a break, Mo, so
Let me take a Diet Pepsi swig real quick.
Thank you. Thank you. Because that's a diet team right now. They're on that Diet Pepsi diet, if you want to say that. And, you know, I think it's a mess of an organization. They don't know whether their coach is coming or going. They don't know whether their players are running the team or their coach is running the team.
Final words, Mo Bob. What's your take on the Knicks? Melo playing much better. Are they going to make a run in the playoffs? If they get that 7-8 seed, are they doomed?
The wild card in that particular thing is going to be Maurice Bobb. If he comes back, is he going to rock the boat? Without him, you know, I'm sorry to say, they're going to make a deeper run. Just because now they've found a groove. Carmelo Anthony is playing like Carmelo Anthony again. You got J.R. Smith playing like a wild coyote. He's playing within himself, and you're getting what you expect from him. You know, guys like Shumpert are stepping up. I think if they can keep this same chemistry going, they might shock some people.
Well, hey, I think the chemistry's always here when Mo Bobb from Slam Magazine and Slam Online is here joining us. Real quick, did you see any of the high school kids that signed their national letter of intent last night with their colleges?
How about Nerlens with the UK shaved in the back of his head? That was classic.
He went kid and play on it, too.
Oh, he's been kid and play.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That guy wears pink shoes and, you know, he's a character. Yeah.
Swag.
Yeah.
Hey, one guy that's locked into all the swag of the college basketball game is our good buddy Gary Parrish, and he's going to jump on with us right after this break. So you guys want to stick around right here on Sports Talk 790 and iHeartRadio. We'll be right back with Mr. Parrish from CBS Sports himself.